VCY America presents Crosstalk, a nationwide call-in program discussing issues that have an effect on our families, our communities, our churches, our nation, and our world. Crosstalk, an opportunity for you to voice your concerns for biblical principles. And now live by satellite and around the world on the internet at vcyamerica.org. Here is today's Crosstalk.
And thank you for joining us on Crosstalk today for a news roundup and comments. And friends, there is so much that's been unfolding in our country and around the world, even as we speak. And I trust you are looking up and also speaking forth. Looking up because the Lord's return is drawing closer day after day, but speaking forth because there's a world that's in need of a Savior. And friends, to be salt and light in this world, it is so very, very important. Certainly, as we see upheaval that is taking place in the Middle East, we see upheaval that is taking place in Minneapolis and other cities across these United States. There is just many that are just bracing themselves as something is percolating, going on. And friends, we need to be understanding of the times in which we live, but not to fear. God's not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. And even as we hear the distressing news and issues of our time, to understand, indeed, God is faithful, and what He has before ordained is going to come to pass. We think of the Jimmy DeYoung Now with the Savior, who used often as a phrase, the stage is being set for Bible prophecy to be fulfilled. And friends, frankly, there's been a lot of stage setting going on, and we know that God raises up, He takes down, and turns whomsoever He will. So we know God is in control of all these things, and He's allowing man to do what man is doing, and certainly his rebellion against Him. But God's plan is not going to be thwarted. What He has ordained is going to come to pass. Well, friends, as we talked about, much indeed going on, even in the Middle East. We think of Iran right now, and from Pamela Geller, events inside Iran are accelerating at a breathtaking pace as the freedom uprising enters a decisive phase. Brave Iranians have torched an Islamic city council building, openly defying the clerical state as the regime reels from cascading losses abroad. Its influence in Venezuela, Syria, Lebanon, and Gaza has collapsed, while at home the economy is in a free fall. Electricity and water are scarce, and the rial has lost nearly 60% of its value. And friends, it didn't have much value to begin with. Townhall.com reports that earlier this week, the Iranian Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi spoke out against the country's Islamic regime amid widespread protest in the streets. He is the eldest son of Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, the last monarch of Iran's Pahlavi dynasty, who was overthrown during the 1979 Islamic Revolution that occurred under President Jimmy Carter. Pahlavi commented on the protests, suggested he is ready to step in as the country's new leader if the current regime falls. At the call of my compatriots, I've stepped forward to lead this transition from this tyranny to a future democracy, he said. Researchers have tracked at least 179 separate protests since the beginning of January. Participants include merchants, university students, industrial workers, and others from a very diverse background. And indeed, there has been blood in the streets. Iran has been plunged into a nationwide internet blackout, is a report from the Geller Report. As an anti-regime protest intensifies, severely restricting communications across the country as demonstrators enter their second week, and the death toll having risen the other day to 44, according to reports. Live network data from NetBlock showed internet traffic collapsing in the troubled nation on Thursday evening, shortly after calls circulated for mass protest at 8 p.m. local time. The country on strike, massive numbers in the streets, internet cut, mullahs seen at Moscow airport, yet the regime still shoot at protesters, many dead, but the people keep on coming. Despite bullets, blackouts, and bloodshed, Iranians are flooding into the streets demanding freedom. What's happening is bigger than a protest. It's a potential geopolitical earthquake, one that could shatter the Iran-Russia-China axis and change the course of history. The Iranian people have risen. And very interesting comments taking place there. And also from CBN.com, the protests in Iran now on their 13th day. may have come to a tipping point, millions now pouring into the streets. The spread of the protests gives some hope that the nearly 50-year Islamic dictatorship may be headed for collapse. All of Iran's 31 provinces, millions of Iranians calling for the overthrow of the regime and for death to the dictator. In some cities, protesters are attacking police headquarters and the dreaded bazik, the shock troops used by the regime to quench the protests. So far, more than 2,000 protesters have been arrested. Dozens have been killed. The U.S. State Department, CBN reports, is publishing reports in Persian to the Iranian people with President Trump's statement that if the regime kills protesters, the U.S. will intervene. In an attempt to smother those protests, the mullahs are shutting down the Internet. Some reports are emerging of massacres by government forces during the blackout. The exiled crown prince issued a call for action during the 2 days this week, saying starting precisely at 8 p.m. wherever you are, whether in the streets or even from your own homes, I call on you to begin chanting exactly at this time. Based on your response, I will announce the next calls to action. Well, global terrorism expert Amir Hamadi told CBN News they're chanting the final battle. The final battle. They want the Islamic Republic overturned, and they want the Pahlavi regime back. Also, it's being reported that with the internet shutdown, that Elon Musk has quietly enabled free Starlink access. Musk committed to keeping the network open at no cost while protesters continue, and instructed Starlink executives to block regime interference. Friends, be praying about this, a major uprising taking place throughout Iran. Here's a tragic story, friends, from lifenews.com. More human beings died from abortion than any other cause of death in 2025. Can you grasp that? You think of all the people with heart disease and cancer, those who have died from auto accidents and so forth. More human beings died from abortions than any other cause of death in 2025. A heartbreaking reminder about the prevalence of abortion, reports lifenews.com. Statistics compiled by Worldometers indicate that there were over 73 million abortions worldwide in 2025. The killing of the unborn, the preborn child, over 73 million. The independent site collects data from governments and other organizations and reports that, along with estimates and projections based on those numbers. In the USA, where nearly 30% of pregnancies are unintended and 40% of these are terminated by abortion, there are between 1,500 to 2,500 abortions per day, Worldometers reports in the United States. And when contrasting the abortion numbers to other causes of death, including cancer, HIV/AIDS, traffic accidents, suicide, abortions far outnumbered every other cause. By contrast, an estimated 10 million people died from cancer in 2025. Now, friends, and that's staggering. 10 million people dying from cancer in 2025, but 7 times that, 73 million abortions taking place. There were 6.2 million that died from smoking, 17 million from disease, 2 million died of HIV/AIDS, and with 67.1 million people dying last year from a cause other than abortion, and 140 million people dying in total from abortion and all causes, that means abortions accounted for almost 52% of all deaths around the world last year. Friends, indeed, country after country having this population crisis that's taking place, and watch out, because the age of the population is on the increase. Country after country after country. And guess what? Soon they will not be able to provide services. You've lived a long life, and this is where we're seeing euthanasia starting to go rampant. Places like Canada and Belgium, the Netherlands, and friends, sadly, it's happening in individual states across these United States as well. LifeNews.com also reporting in 2025, 64% of abortion clinics nationwide limited abortions to the first 14 weeks, the same percentage found in the previous year. However, the percentage of abortion clinics that commit later abortion, 20 weeks and beyond, saw a slight increase to 18% in 2025, up from 17%. In other words, 115 clinics in America are willing to kill babies in the womb well into the second trimester. Friends, it's tragic. An abortion in the first trimester is tragic as well. And then 23% administer or mail pills from 7 to 10 weeks, a 3% drop from 2024. However, the number of clinics that offer abortion pills between 11 and 13 weeks increased by 64% in 2024 to 67% in 2025. What a tragedy. What barbarism that is taking place in the United States of America and in countries around the world. And sadly, we are seeing the President of the United States, Donald Trump, as much good as he has done on many areas, has said that there needs to be a little bit more flexibility on the part of Republicans as it relates to the Hyde Amendment. The Washington Stand is reporting that GOP lawmakers and pro-life groups are strongly pushing back against the suggestion by President Trump Tuesday that House Republicans should be a little more flexible during health care legislation negotiations on the Hyde Amendment, a bipartisan provision protecting tax dollars from funding abortions that's been renewed annually for the last 50 years. Republican lawmakers were quick to express shock and dismay in reaction to the president's remarks. Senator James Langford said, "I'm not flexible on the value of every child's life. Children are valuable, and so I have to get up to the context of what he meant by that." A senior House Republican aide further reiterated that Hyde is non-negotiable for most conversations. Hyde is not an option. Caving on Hyde is not an option, is the quote. Senate Majority Leader John Thune also made clear Tuesday that any health care deal that makes its way to the Senate must include Hyde protections in order to have a chance at receiving the 60 votes. Okay, from LifeNews.com, the Planned Parenthood of Western Pennsylvania abortion business temporarily closing 3 abortion centers in the Pittsburgh area this month. The abortion giant is citing a severe staffing shortage of nurses amid a statewide nursing crisis and challenges to staying open. Nearly half a dozen registered nurses and certified nurse practitioners have left for other jobs in recent months. Let's only hope and pray that even more will leave the abortion industry. LifeNews.com also reporting in Minnesota, abortions have surged 35% under Tim Walz. Among abortion facilities, Planned Parenthood performed a record high 8,052 abortions in Minnesota in 2024, while practitioners like Just the Pill and Carafem, which send chemical abortion drugs through the mail, accounted for a significant portion. 1,641 abortions were classified as, quote, telehealth. LifeSiteNews.com, Colorado taxpayers will pay $5.4 million to a pro-life medical clinic targeted by the state for offering the hormone progesterone to women to help them potentially stop an abortion pill from killing the baby. The state will pay out another $700,000 to settle a lawsuit from a licensed nurse practitioner. And the Wyoming Supreme Court, LifeNews.com, has pointed out that they have struck down 2 pro-life laws banning most abortions, allowing the killing of unborn babies to continue. Friends, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back from the break, we're going to move our topic to that of what's going on in Minneapolis, and even the threats coming against the YouTuber Nick Shirley. We'll have much more to share after the break. It's a News Roundup and Comment Friday here on VCY America's Crosstalk program. Stay with us. Back in a minute.
Back to Genesis with Dr. John Morris, scientist and author with the Institute for Creation Research. Dr. Morris, before the fall of man, did animals suffer?
Chris, the Bible says at the end of creation week, things were very good. Things would live forever with no pain or death. With Adam's sin came the wages of sin. But evolutionists believe that animals lived and died long ago. In fact, the dinosaurs went extinct before man even got here. And yet some of them lived with great pain. A recent discovery of a T-Rex fossil shows this. This dinosaur was quite old when it died. Earlier, it had suffered a broken leg and broken ribs, which had healed. It lived in terrible pain. Now, I don't think that this pain is the result of creation. It's the result of sin. It's certainly not very good, as God pronounced His completed creation back in Genesis.
Thanks, Dr. Morris. For more on creation, visit our website at www.icr.org.
Friends, when's the last time you have prayed for a nation, prayed for the president, his administration, prayed for your governor, state legislators? There is so much that is brewing right now across this nation, and certainly rhetoric is heating up. The angst between individuals, the division seems to be intensifying as well. And certainly we're seeing played out before our very eyes what the Apostle Paul warned Timothy about the perilous times to come. Friends, as we turn our attention right now to the Minneapolis area, a lot of this was exposed here when the YouTuber Nick Shirley launched an investigation and shared that about the corrupt, all the alleged corruption taking place in child care centers, receiving millions and millions of dollars, and yet where are the children? Well, he has, as a result of this, been threatened. And matter of fact, Nick Shirley, was on the PBD podcast on Wednesday, just a couple days ago, and have indicated that people are telling him that he will be assassinated like Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk after his viral video on alleged Somali fraud had been released. Shirley's video just a week ago showed him finding that multiple supposed Minnesota Somali-run daycare centers, including one that reportedly obtained $4 million in taxpayer funds, did not actually care for any children. On the podcast, Shirley detailed threats that he received, along with how his family has been affected. Here's what he said in part.
Have you gotten any threats, like actual death threats?
Yeah, well, in person and also...
Can you tell me about that? Like, are they messaging you saying, we're going to get you? What are they saying to you?
Yeah, like they're saying, oh, like, Kirked. You're going to be Kirked.
You're going to be Kirked. That's what they're saying to you.
Yeah, like, you're the next, you'll be the next Kirk. And it's just like, are you kidding me? Because it's not even, like, I hate what's happening right now. Like, I feel bad for my family, honestly, because it's like, yeah, like, we didn't do anything wrong. And yet you guys are coming after me like I'm some sort of villain. Right? So I'm like, my little sister's getting phone calls. I'm like, why are you guys doing this?
Your little sister's getting phone calls?
Yeah, from like the news. I'm like, okay, don't talk to my family. I mean, some news in India, they doxed my home, they doxed my dad, it was really weird. And I haven't even told my dad about that because I just don't want to even bother him about it.
Well, Dad, you know now.
But like they put it, like, it's just like, are you guys kidding me? Like, why are you guys coming after somebody for going against fraud? Like, I didn't make this a right or left issue. I just showed you guys that fraud was happening, and now you guys are coming after me. You're saying, I'll be the next Kirk. You're literally stopping at intersections and coming after me and trying to attack me. Like, what? Why are you so evil? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, what? Why are you defending fraud? Do you like money being stolen? No. And what are you doing? You're a racist. No, I'm not a racist. I'm just telling you what the facts are. You guys are stealing money from the people that are working hard here inside the United States. I was literally talking to a black man, and then the Somali man comes out, and he's also black. So I can't understand what they're thinking, calling me a racist. I'm having a great conversation with a black man, and then another black man comes up, and he's Somali descent, and he comes and attacks me for being a racist.
It's amazing, friends, what is going on. He went on to describe other matters as well, but Nick Shirley being threatened, and all he's done is expose the fraud that is taking place. And as a result of this, I mean, the heat has been coming upon the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, who was nearly vice president of the United States. And this week, he just infuriated reporters Monday. He actually fled a short press event without taking a single question after he announced that he was not going to seek re-election. Here's him in brief this past Monday.
Which brings me to this. 2026 is an election year. Election years have a way of ramping up the politics at a time when we simply can't afford more of that in Minnesota. In September, I announced that I would seek a historic third term as Minnesota's governor, and I have every confidence that if I gave it my all, we would win the race. But as I reflect on this moment with my family and my team over the holidays, I came to the conclusion that I can't give a political campaign my all. Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who want to prey on our differences. So I've decided to step out of this race, and I'll let others worry about the election while I focus on the work that's in front of me for the next year.
You know, he spoke for a few more minutes and then just left the room, and reporters are yelling out questions and would not take questions when announcing his resignation. Well, also, as Daily Signal is reporting, that Walz held a press conference this past Wednesday after news broke that ICE agent shot and killed a protester in her vehicle. The video below, well, they showed on the site, shows the incident. And according to the Department of Homeland Security, the woman was attempting to run over ICE agents in an attempt to kill them, and an ICE officer fired shots in self-defense at the vehicle, killing the driver. However, witnesses appeared to dispute that account of the incident to local news. Some told Fox 9 that ICE agents were attempting to enter the woman's vehicle when one of them opened fire. During the news conference, Walz discussed deploying the National Guard. And said, my primary responsibility as governor is the protection of the people of Minnesota. And you can be assured, whether it's the State Patrol or whether it's the National Guard, their deployment is there to protect Minnesotans from whatever it is. If it's an act of nature, if it's a global pandemic, or in this case, if it's a rogue federal agent. Very interesting indeed. And then he talked about protesting being a patriotic duty.
I want Minnesotans to hear this from me. The desire to get out and protest and to speak up to this administration of how wrong this is, that is a patriotic duty at this point in time.
A patriotic duty, and we see the mayhem that is unfolding in Minneapolis. Townhall.com, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem had a brief press conference where she set the record straight. Renee Good rammed ICE agents, was shot and killed in the attack. These agents were doing their job enforcing immigration laws that have been neglected for years. In Deep Blue Minneapolis, they may not get local assistance, but federal agents can and will continue to enforce the deportation agenda set forth by the Trump administration, she stated. Well, it's also very interesting as protests have come out. Agitators were flocked to the Minneapolis Federal Building. There were clashes that have unfolded and continue to unfold in Minneapolis. But here's just a brief audio clip from some of the protests. Yeah, that's shouting, show your face, they were saying to the ICE agents. And as I'm watching this, I'm looking at the people shouting this. So many of them had masks on. and here they're yelling for the ICE agents to show their face. And I found that to be quite interesting there. Also, there has been coverage by the various networks, and Townhall.com is commending NBC for doing something no other outlet likely did, and regarding the ICE shooting in Minneapolis. They showed in real time the event and showed the reverse angle where you can see the ICE agent being hit by this vehicle. Even as the initial report wasn't insane, but here's the report from NBC.
Stuff we were learning from the get-go. Again, the police chief saying this vehicle was blocking the federal agents right there.
That's right, Tom. And a big caveat, we don't know what happened before this, but they're definitely going to look at the fact this is an unmarked vehicle, but the lights are on. These are clearly members of law enforcement, so that's at least known to this driver.
Let's play the video because something else happens right here. Those officers approach the vehicle. They try to open the door. Let's stop it here. How will this help the investigators?
Whatever is said here, what these officers say, if the driver said anything or not, could really help them understand whether or not they thought there was some sort of an imminent threat. Was this person trying to listen to them? Were they scared? Or is this going to be a problem?
And then, of course, what the driver does next. Let's play that video. Trying to leave there. One of the officers felt like they were forced to fire, and they do. We want to show another angle, reverse angle of the same incident here. We're going to freeze it. This is that same angle here. And what does this show us, Tom?
Well, this appears to show an officer right in front of the vehicle. That and between the way that the vehicle was moving and the timeline of that, how was the officer responding in that split second going to be critical for investigators.
Finally, one more piece of evidence we want to talk about here, and it is the bullet hole in the front of the windshield. What will this tell investigators?
Well, you look at this, you look at ballistics, you look at witness statements, you look at other video, all going to be part of this investigation. But, Tom, it's going to take some time.
Tom, it's going to take some time, and they're going through this, and certainly watching with great interest what is taking place, what's unfolding there. Western Journal reports that Renee Good's lesbian partner made a devastating admission moments after the shooting while on camera. The shooting of the 37-year-old Renee Good by an ICE officer has brought even more national attention to arrest and deportation efforts, and more national attention still to the state of Minnesota after seemingly countless fraud schemes in the Somali population were exposed. On the former media members and the public alike took to dissecting Wednesday's footage of the altercation. Good's last moments as she tried to drive into an officer had been the subject of intense debate. But according to the New York Post, Good's partner in the immediate aftermath was heard saying, "I made her come down here. It's my fault." She said, "They just shot my wife." Her partner was filmed on the scene visibly in agony over what had just unfolded. The Daily Signal reported Hilton has removed a Minnesota hotel from its system after refusing to accommodate federal immigration enforcement agents. This was not a Hilton-owned facility that had denied access for the Department of Homeland Security agents to seek overnight lodging there. Rather, this was independent, and the Hilton, we understand, the Hampton Inn by Hilton, Lakeville, Minneapolis, made national headlines Monday after DHS reported that the Hilton Hotel refused to accommodate immigration enforcement officials. Well, Hampton Inn operates as one of the Hilton Hotels and Resorts brands, a hotel in Lakeville, Minneapolis, independently owned and operated according to Hilton. Well, Hilton issued a statement saying it has been in touch with the hotel. They have apologized for their actions, adding that refusing accommodation to a particular group is not keeping with their policy. And evidently they went back a second time and still denied. That was caught on video. And so Hilton has given them the boot. That's our understanding. Okay, from SlayNews.com, a judge has issued a sweeping forfeiture order against the convicted ringleader of a major Minnesota Somali welfare fraud scheme, stripping her of luxury assets. The convicted organizer, Amy Bach, was described in a Daily Mail report as the mastermind behind the operation that stole millions in taxpayer money. Bach was convicted on multiple federal counts, including wire fraud, and following a 6-week federal trial, is currently being held in jail while awaiting sentencing. The scandal is part of what has now been a massive federal investigation into allegations that billions in U.S. welfare funds were looted through fraudulent schemes within Minnesota's Somali community, including daycare and food aid fronts billing taxpayers for services that were never provided. According to the preliminary forfeiture, reviewed by the Daily Mail, Bach had been ordered to surrender $3.5 million seized from a Feeding Our Future bank account, nearly $180,000 from a personal account, her Porsche Panamera, roughly 60 laptops, iPads, and iPhones seized from 3 locations, a diamond necklace, bracelet, and earrings, also a specialized purse and backpack, and now awaiting sentencing. But the scandal continues to widen as federal investigators pursue additional suspects and unrecovered funds. It's amazing what is taking place there. And Fox News reporting that federal authorities have arrested more than 1,000 in Minnesota, including alleged murderers, rapists, pedophiles, and gang members after sending a surge of agents to the state in its massive response to the rampant fraud still being uncovered. Isn't that amazing? Over 1,000 arrests in Minneapolis alone. I mean, we're talking alleged murderers, rapists, pedophiles, and gang members. And yet you've got the governor, the mayor that are trying to shield and give cover for what's going on. We'll be back in just a minute. You're listening to Crosstalk.
As we strive to be like Christ, there are besetting sins which take us off course. Sinful anger is one of them. Anger is a willful and deliberate choice, often caused by not being able to attain our prideful or selfish goals. If not dealt with, anger will turn into something worse. Another besetting sin is that of anxiety and fear. Ungodly anxiety goes beyond reasonable concern and involves worry about mere possibilities. And then there's the ungodly fear. Fear that often paralyzes and causes us to focus on our circumstances rather than on God and His promises. There is hope. In the booklet, Anger, Anxiety, and Fear, author Stuart Scott provides a biblical perspective on these issues, providing the path to victory. Anger, Anxiety, and Fear. Available for a donation of $9 or 3 copies for $24. Call VCY 1-800-729-9829.
You're listening to Crosstalk on VCY America, and Scripture talks about as it was in the days of Noah. Friends, what were those days of Noah like? Well, the whole earth was filled with violence. Man did that, every evil imagination of his heart. I mean, it was on display. And friends, we are just seeing, that like today's commentary and all the matters that are going through the news. And we trust, number one, friends, that you know Jesus Christ as your personal Savior. Number two, that you're making him known to others as well. By the way, OANN.com reporting that the Quality Learning Center, or Leering Center as they had on their sign, and for being prominently featured in Nick Shirley's viral video showcasing widespread fraud in state child care programs, has now permanently closed, they report. Official Minnesota Department of Health Services licensing records show the center's license status as closed as of Tuesday, January 6. The closure was allegedly voluntary at the provider's request, and the facility cannot reopen without reapplying for a new license. WND.com says there's been reports, some credible, that Ilhan Omar, now a Democrat member of Congress, representing a Somali immigrant majority district in Minnesota, bent the law in trying to give her brother American residency. Now, U.S. Representative Nancy Mace has confirmed that members of Congress just moved to subpoena Ilhan Omar and her brother/husband's immigration records in the Oversight Committee. Federal marriage fraud and knowingly entering a marriage to evade immigration laws is a serious felony, punishable by prison time, steep fines, denaturalization, and deportation. Marrying a sibling is illegal in every state. We intend to get to the bottom of it, end the fraud, denaturalize, and deport Ilhan Omar, reports a statement from Nancy Mace. The Gateway Pundit telling us another Minnesota money pipeline just got shut down, and this one leads straight back to Ilhan Omar. The funding that was tucked into a federal spending bill was purportedly destined for a substance abuse clinic in Omar's home state of Minnesota. However, a shocking investigation led by Senator Joni Ernst revealed that the clinic was anything but legitimate. During an interview on Fox Business, Senator Ernst said that the proposal, she said, what I uncovered the other day in one of our spending bills making its way through Congress was a $1 million earmark from Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota. The earmark was supposedly going to a substance abuse clinic, which actually happened to be housed in a restaurant and run by 3 individuals who share the same residential address. Well, friends, with all of this going on, and many people have their eyes on the elections here for November of 2026, and President Trump recently spoke to members of the GOP and gave remarks there. We don't have time for his full speech, but he did warn. He did warn if there is a turnover in Congress, he is going to be the victim of being impeached again. Here's what he had to say.
But you got to win the midterms, because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, they'll find a reason to impeach me. I'll get impeached. We don't impeach them. You know why? Because they're meaner than we are. We should have impeached Joe Biden for 100 different things.
We should have impeached him, but he said he will be the one who's going to be impeached if there's a turnover in Congress. And friends, no doubt you can see that playing out, can't you? Jihad Watch is reporting on the Islamification that's going on in our nation, that 3 days into Zohran Mamdani's term as New York City's first Islamic Marxist mayor, they say, Times Square was shut down for a street prayer. This is Islam openly flexing power in America's most iconic space, that is New York's future. Friends, I'm only going to play just one brief little clip coming from New York City's Times Square.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar,
Hear that, friends? Allah Akbar. Allah is bigger. Allah is greater. That's what that shut down the streets. And you see Muslims there taking over. And friends, then again, when we see what Kathy Hochul did, governor of New York, as Pamela Geller reports, what she did sparked outrage, ordering that 16 state landmarks, including Manhattan's One World Trade Center, be illuminated in green to celebrate the heritage and culture of Muslim Americans. She lit up the skyscraper erected on the site where the Twin Towers were knocked down by terrorists, Islamic terrorists during the 9/11 attacks, was decried as tone-deaf and disgusting by several social media users. There were other sites that she directed to be lit up in green. The Governor Cuomo Bridge, Grand Central Terminal, Pershing Square Viaduct, Albany International Airport Gateway, and other Penn Station, Roosevelt Island Lighthouse, other locations as well. Unbelievable. Okay, also from OAN.com, New York Democrat Governor Kathy Hochul, New York City Mayor Mamdani, Democratic Socialists have announced plans to provide affordable child care for kids under 5 years old across the state of New York and free child care specifically for 2-year-olds in the Big Apple. The free child care will cost around $4.5 billion statewide, including $1.7 billion of additional taxpayer spending. Hochul and Mamdani announced on Thursday that they are working toward a future where affordable universal child care is available for all children under age 5 across the entire state of New York by 2028. The two-care program will reportedly work with home-based providers and build on NYC's existing early childhood programs, including 3K. Friends, can you imagine the teaching that's going to go on to these young little children? The training? And I would add the word brainwashing that will be done to these children? That's my question. The Washington Stand is reporting the Corporation for Public Broadcasting Board of Directors voted to officially dissolve the organization on Monday. That's according to a press release. The decision comes in response to moves from the Trump administration and within Congress to pull its federal funding. Let's go back to New York again. This is Western Journal. Parents in Erie County, New York, complaining as their children freeze on electric school buses while drivers try to conserve battery life. WIVB reported December 18th that several families in the Lakeshore Central School District are raising concerns as their children come home saying their buses were cold. Some parents are even forced to send their children to school with hand warmers. The heaters on the bus run off the same electricity as the bus itself. Scott Sorobro, a parent and former school board candidate, told WIVB. They were told that it drains the battery capacity of the bus itself. New York State has mandated that all new school buses purchased must be electric by 2027. Lakeshore Central School District, therefore, has 23 electric school buses alongside 24 gasoline buses and 4 diesel. The school system bought 20 of the electric buses with the help of $7.9 million grant from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. Despite the new technology, some parents reported buses breaking down with their children inside, meaning they had to stand outside in the cold while another bus arrived. Oh, this is the answer, friends, for the future. Oh, electric buses, that is the answer. We're going to save the environment, and our children are freezing. The Epoch Times reporting a warning to Texans. Texas has warned residents not to plant what it calls mysterious seeds that arrived in unsolicited packages from China as authorities investigate thousands of such report across the state. Texas Agriculture Commissioner Sid Miller said in a statement, quote, "The possible introduction of an invasive species to the state via these seeds poses real risk to Texas families and the agricultural industry." Isn't this bizarre? Mysterious seed packets arriving from China to families and to homes in the state of Texas. Here's another story coming out. LifeSiteNews.com. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services announced Monday the overhaul of federal childhood immunization schedule, reducing the number of vaccine recommendations for children from 17 to 10. That's creating an uproar. ChildsHealthDefense.org reporting the federal government will stop paying physicians based on the number of patients they vaccinate and is urging state health agencies to stop using similar financial incentives. Isn't that troubling? When there are financial incentives given to physicians based upon the number of their patients that they vaccinate? No wonder why there has been such a push. Okay, Breitbart is reporting the Trump administration will sell Venezuelan oil indefinitely and control the proceeds. Energy Secretary Chris Wright announced Wednesday as part of the administration's broader strategy to manage Venezuela oil exports and rebuild the energy sector there. President Trump said Tuesday Venezuela will provide between 30 million and 50 million barrels of oil worth approximately 1.5 billion to 2.5 billion at current market prices to be transported by ship to U.S. docks. This oil will be sold at its market price and money will be controlled by me as President of the United States of America to ensure that it's used to benefit the people of Venezuela and the United States. The proceeds will be held in U.S. Treasury-controlled accounts at globally recognized banks. And we understand that today the president's to be meeting with executives from Chevron, ConocoPhillips, and ExxonMobil at the White House to discuss investments in Venezuela. WND.com reporting a new report from a daily Lebanese publication accuses Maduro of delivering 10,000 Venezuelan passports to the terrorists of Hezbollah. Some of those passports were used by officers of Syria's Bashar al-Assad to flee that nation. After the Assad regime was overthrown in December 2024, many senior officials fled to nearby Lebanon. Fox News is reporting President Trump announced in an early morning Truth Social post today that he has canceled the previously expected second wave of attacks against Venezuela in light of the cooperation between the foreign nation and the United States, and saying that Venezuela is releasing large numbers of political prisoners as a sign of seeking peace, a very important and smart gesture, he says. Also, President Trump said Thursday, justthenews.com, that Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado will visit the U.S. sometime next week and confirmed that he expects to meet with her. And LifeSiteNews.com reporting with indications of multiple motivations for the U.S. attack on Venezuela and capture of Nicolas Maduro circulating in the West. Proposals have also emerged suggesting the Trump administration is additionally addressing election fraud crimes that many allege originated from the South American nation. Well, friends, much is taking place in the news. A couple more oil tankers were seized in the Caribbean and pre-dawn mission, and much taking place there. And I can see the clock says I'm running out of time on my part here, but we'd like to open the phone lines to give you opportunity to comment on these or other current event stories. Our number to crosstalk, 800-733-9829. That's 800-733-9829. If you want to comment on these or the many other current event news stories that are taking place. By the way, North Carolina has officially recognized male and female as the only two sexes. That is good news out of North Carolina. And here is also interesting news from westernjournal.com. The sales of Bibles have jumped over the past year. According to the New York Times, Bible sales in 2025 have surged about 12% over the previous year. We'll be back in 1 minute here on Crosstalk. Again, if you'd like to comment on these or other current event stories, the number to Crosstalk, 800-733-9829. We'll be back in 1 minute. This is Crosstalk on the VCY American Network.
For the Worldview Report, I'm Brandon House. Our website's worldviewtube.com. Well, since 2010 here on our broadcast, we have been warning since 2010 about Iranian missiles in Venezuela. We've been warning about 5,000 Russian-made man-pads. Those are able to be shot from the ground to the air. We've been warning about those circulating around Venezuela. So I'm very happy with the action that President Trump has taken. Folks can argue about it, and they are free to do so. But from a national security standpoint, I think he was right on the mark when he cited the Monroe Doctrine. The idea we're not going to let other countries, and certainly not enemy states, set up in our backyard, not in Venezuela, not in Cuba, and certainly not on our border in Mexico or Canada. We'll see what happens with Mexico and with Cuba. But again, I think President Trump is trying to secure the country, and I'm all for it. I'm Brandon House.
You're listening to Crosstalk on the VCY American Network, and your opportunity to weigh in on these or other current event stories on this News Roundup and Comment Friday. Our number to Crosstalk, 800-733-9829. That's 800-733-9829. Let's begin in Monroe, Wisconsin. Mark, you're on the air.
Hey, Jim. That poor reporter is, first of all, he's a journalist. He's only telling things as how they are. That's objectivity. The second part of it is he's also exposing darkness. And darkness won't have anything to do with light. So the fact of the matter is, and again, this is really low by the deep state, but to use the expression, being kirked, I think that is just, despicable, to put it mildly. But again, you already mentioned, we are so much in the days of Noah, and the main theme of that era, which is our era, I believe, is violence, and that's the equivalent of Hamas. That's the equivalent to Minneapolis. That's the equivalent that is going to open New York City full-fledged. I think it's coming down the pike. So that's my overview of everything in that respect.
Amen. Yeah, indeed. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate the call. And I understand that Hebrew word there for violence in Genesis chapter 6. There is the word Hamas. Very interesting there. Our number to Crosstalk, 800-733-9829. Scott is calling from Conneaut, Ohio. Hi, Scott. You're on the air.
Oh, thank you for taking my call, Brother Jim, and all those godly Christians that are hearing the Word of God to do it. From Genesis to Revelation, the very center of the book, Psalm 119, verse 160. It says, "From the beginning, O Lord, thy word is true, and every one of thy righteous judgments endure forever." I believe God means exactly what he says.
Indeed.
And that we better humble ourselves and come under his grace.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you, Scott, for your call here today. Our number to Crosstalk, 800-733-9829. LifeNews.com has this story that the man arrested for vandalizing the Cincinnati home of Vice President J.D. Vance, the man arrested identifies as a transgender and goes by the name Julia DeFleur, while his father is a surgeon who has donated to Democrats, according to reports. Very interesting. Identifying as a transgender, has an Instagram profile, and that's another issue that took place this week in Ohio. Also, news this week as well, Newsmax.com, President Trump said Wednesday that the United States will withdraw from the international agreement that has served as the foundation for global efforts to rein in climate change for 34 years. The president signed a memorandum directing the U.S. to exit 66 international organizations and treaties that no longer serve American interest. Very interesting, and pulling us out from the climate agreement and other aspects as well. We have Merle calling from Tennessee. Hi, Merle. You're on the air.
Hi, Jim. Yeah, I believe it was yesterday that Representative Luna sent in 2 criminal referrals to the DOJ for Tim Walz and Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of Minnesota. And my understanding is it happened yesterday. So I just wanted to make that note.
Yeah. Thank you for that here, Merle. And, we need to be praying what's going on in Minneapolis, too, and for peace and calm to take place, certainly for investigations to take place. I mean, the fraud that's been uncovered by Nick Shirley is just staggering. And we're told that this is just the tip of the iceberg. just the tip of the iceberg. And I understand he's just released another video with more fraud that's been taking place as well. Let's go to West Dallas, Wisconsin. Brad, thanks for calling Crosstalk. You're on the air.
Yeah, Brother Jim. I just wanted to mention that these people that are getting into Islam and Allah and all that, remember what Jesus said. He said he himself is the way to heaven, the truth, the and the life.
Yeah.
And he is the source of all truth. He is truth himself. Anything else, anything that disagrees what he has to say is false by definition. So that means Allah and Islam, which does just that, is false. It's not real. It's a lie. And we have the truth. And no matter what, if you have Jesus, you have everything, no matter what happens in this life.
Yeah. Indeed. And Brad, you made some great points there, and that's the bottom line, really. That is really the bottom line. Thank you for the call.
Thank you.
And friends, these are issues taking place that are before us, and how is our response as believers? I trust that we recognize that we're understanding of these times. Things are reaching a boiling point in so many different aspects. And it is not, so many are playing the game of Christianity. And friends, we need to get beyond the gamesmanship and be genuine in that aspect. A couple other news reports here today in our final minute. That is the Washington Times reporting Steny Hoyer, Maryland Democrat, announced his retirement from Congress yesterday. 86 years old. He's been in the House since 1981. He does represent a district that includes the Washington eastern suburbs and southern Maryland. And also from crosswalk.com, there's a new wave of crackdowns on house churches in China that has led to the arrest of dozens of Christians, with authorities even offering cash rewards for information leading to their capture. Cash rewards for giving information leading to the capture of Christians. The report from International Christian Concern says an ongoing massive campaign by Chinese police in and around the Wenzhou city resulted in the detainment and arrest of more than 100 local house church members between December 13th and 18th. The crackdown included checkpoints and police patrols, cash rewards being posted for the capture of house church leaders, they report. Friends, again, we have much to be in prayer concerning, and trust that you are doing what you can to be an ambassador. We're told to be an ambassador of Jesus Christ, and how critically important it is in such a time as this. We thank you for joining us today and all this week on Crosstalk. And friends, it is Friday. The Lord's Day is coming. I trust you'll be in a Bible-believing, Bible-teaching local church. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Crosstalk via satellite and the internet from VCY America. Views expressed may or may not be those of this station. For a CD of today's program, send a donation of $6 or more to VCY Tape Ministry, 3434 West Kilbourne Avenue, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53208, or download by RSS or podcast from crosstalkamerica.com. And join us again for Crosstalk.